You're really struggling with procrastination and overwhelm and you are in your late 20s, chances are you're not crazy, you're not just going through some random skill regression, you're not just losing your sense of purpose or anything like that, you're actually going through a spiritual awakening that is called a Saturn return. Now, I'm a spiritual coach, so I knew about this well before my late 20s, and I thought that I could read enough books and do things to prepare myself so that this spiritual awakening wouldn't feel as devastating as I know that it could. But no matter what I did to try to prepare myself for the spiritual awakening, when you are going through a spiritual awakening, it is designed to collapse all of the old systems that you had in place that make you feel like yourself. My morning routine completely changed. All of my habits completely changed. I felt like I completely lost my sense of self. And even though I had spent over 20 years doing things like biohacking practices, therapy, meditation, working with experts, parasite cleanses, working with nutritionists to balance my hormones and everything, and to overcome the depression that I once felt in my life, in my late 20s, it felt like this depression was just back all of a sudden. I didn't have motivation or momentum to do the things that I once really loved to do. And all of this combined can make you feel really, really bleh. And the reason I'm talking about this today is because I know that I'm not the only person experiencing this. Currently, my Instagram DMs are actually filled with messages from other women who are reaching out to me, wondering if they're crazy, wondering if they're going through some huge trauma in their late 20s just because, wondering what is going to happen for them. And I know how scary this can feel because I used to feel this exact same way. Even though when I started my Saturn return, I felt like I was in my dream relationship. I felt like I was in my dream home and all of these things. I had built the life of my dreams, so I thought. Once I hit my Saturn return and I actually started going through the spiritual awakening process that happens in our late 20s, where our brain actually develops new neural pathways and our perspective of ourself and life itself just completely shifts. Once I started to go through that process, I realized that so many of the things that I once thought were my dream things were actually not dreams of mine at all. They might be things that I thought that I wanted, but when I connected with my soul, my higher self, and my intuition, it was not actually what was making me happy. So I found myself moving cities completely, literally starting life over, selling everything that I owned, wanting to just get rid of the energy of the past and completely clear the slate for a new life for myself. And that's exactly what I did. It was very, very scary. It's not something that I anticipated doing or thought that I was going to do. And if you were to look at my life at the time, you probably would have thought, like, why is she even making all of these huge drastic changes and things like that? But deep down in my soul, I knew that this is something that I was meant to do. And maybe you're feeling the same way, that deep down soul conviction that you need to make a change or move on or do something, but you're just not exactly sure what to do. So I'm super grateful that I had the courage to step into a completely new path, even though I wasn't sure what it was going to look like. Because what ended up happening for me is I moved to a space that my soul actually feels completely at home. This space is in alignment with my astrocartography, which is basically where you line up your astrological chart with the astrology of the earth and find a place to live that is in your best interest, that helps align you to your higher self and also supports your human design, supports you in feeling like your best self every single day. So I moved to this space and my soul started to actually feel like home for the very first time in this lifetime. I got to connect with my past life wisdom, my ancestral wisdom, and I had so many incredible parts of my spiritual awakening that I never would have had before in my old life. Going through this process is not easy, and it definitely doesn't feel good. Going through this process taught me the power of trusting my intuition, as well as trusting the help that is placed in front of me. I had read so many books at this point. I had done so much meditation at this point. I was living this super holistic and healthy lifestyle, but I was still feeling very depressed and lost and overwhelmed and disconnected from myself and nature every single day. And it wasn't until I actually joined communities of people that were also going through spiritual awakenings and worked with mentors one-on-one, got to have conversations where I could just speak freely about the things that were happening within me, about my dreams, about like my actual dreams, because I was having nightmares and crazy dreams throughout this period. And there wasn't an outlet, there wasn't a place for me to go speak with a dream interpreter. I didn't know of someone who knew this type of knowledge or anything like that. So I'm so grateful that throughout this spiritual awakening process, sometimes there were days that I could do nothing other than just scroll on social media. And when I was doing that, I would find dream interpreters. I would find spiritual people or people who were further along in their Saturn return spiritual awakening process than I was. Connecting with these people, I was able to find the light in the darkness of this spiritual awakening. I was able to learn how to turn my pain into my purpose. I was able to learn how to regulate my nervous system, not just from a neuroscience and neurological perspective, but actually in the habits and rituals that I got to do every single day. I was able to connect with nature and new hobbies that made me feel closer to myself, my intuition, and my higher self. I took all the resources that helped me come back from skill regression and depression and come back into my highest purpose. I compiled them all into a library that I call the Soul Purpose Portal. This is a virtual platform where you can find practices, rituals, and resources to help transform your life literally instantaneously. There's so many of our community members who have developed secure, healthy relationships, healed their attachment styles, gone from feeling like they can't get out of bed to suddenly feeling productive and confident to take action on all of their goals, getting in the best shape of their life without having to make big changes to their diet or lifestyle at all, balance our hormones, improve our energy, clear our skin, and receive so many health benefits. Using these practices, so many of us got to discover our own soul purpose and our own spiritual gifts and have the courage to start a business or a personal brand where they got to bring in over a $10,000 income in their first 30 days of business. And of course, my favorite part of this platform is being able to make lifelong friendships and find connection in an otherwise lonely spiritual journey. If any of this has resonated with you, message me growth on Instagram and I'll connect you with some practices that can help you start feeling your best right away.